Hello, everybody. Welcome to class for this week. And just recording the class here because I'm in Sydney, Australia with work just for a couple days and then heading back to Canada actually tomorrow morning. It's just the morning here in Australia on Saturday today, so day ahead of everyone else in North America. And so I just want to record this and send this out for this week's class. It's just with the timing and my work schedule, I'm not going to be able to do the class live. That's just the life of being a flight attendant, I guess. I'm just on all these different sort of schedulings and jet lag and everything else. And so anyway, just I'll be meditating sort of virtually with you guys here today, which is nice. So today's class, just before we get into it, is we've been doing a sort of presentation of the three principal paths of renunciation, Bodhicitta, and wisdom realizing emptiness. So we've done a number of classes now on renunciation. So we're going to do today. We're going to keep coming back to these themes over and over again. But today I just did a little bit of meditation and talk on Bodhicitta, or the awakening mind. Bodhi, of course, means awakened and or awakening, and chit is the Sanskrit for mind. Bodhicitta, oftentimes sort of loosely translated sort of as a mind of sort of great compassion, but different ways to put it. So we'll do a little bit of an introduction on this and a bit of a meditation on it as well. So anyway, in the meantime, let's just sort of get started here. I'm going to do sort of a simplified meditation today on the Lama Chopa visualization. And so we're just, today's class might be a little bit shorter on some things, just because I don't have all my material with me. I have left a lot of it in Vancouver there. So I'm just in a hotel room here in Sydney. So I have to sort of make do with the materials that I have. Okay, so let's just sort of take a moment to just get relaxed here. As always, we'll start with a recitation of the Heart Sutra and a meditation, recitation and meditation on emptiness. This is a way of clearing obstacles in our mind, kind of bad energy in the environment, but most of all, just sort of gather sort of to ourself, setting our intention, setting our view that everything is empty, everything is just a projection mind, everything is like a dream. And this sort of cuts down on our attachment and sort of more artificial fabricated mind, hang-ups and so forth. We can all sort of let this go. So whatever we're doing, we're always sort of meditating on emptiness. We're sort of starting with emptiness, dedicating with emptiness, this and that. This is sort of the big view that we have to always sort of bring into ourselves. It's our main daily practice as Buddhist. In a lot of ways, we have to think that when we take refuge, what we're really taking refuge in is emptiness. Okay. Homage to the perfection of wisdom, the Blessed Mother. Thus I've heard, at one time the Blessed One was dwelling in Rajgir in Mass Vultures Mountain, great assembly of monks and a great assembly of bodhisattvas, monks and nuns and a great assembly of bodhisattvas. At that time, the Blessed One was absorbed in the concentration of countless aspects of phenomena called profound illumination. That time also, Spirit of Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva, the Great Being, was looking perfectly at the practice of the profound perfection of wisdom, looking perfectly also at the five aggregates being empty of inherent existence. Then through the power of Buddha, Venerable Shariputra said to Spirit of Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva, the Great Being, how should a son of the lineage train who wishes to engage in the practice of the profound perfection of wisdom? Thus he spoke, and Spirit of Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva, the Great Being, replied to Venerable Shariputra as follows. Shariputra, whatever son or daughter of the lineage wishes to engage in the practice of profound perfection of wisdom should look perfectly like this. Subsequently, looking perfectly and correctly, also the five aggregates being empty of inherent existence. Form is empty and emptiness is form. Emptiness is not other than form, and form is not other than emptiness. Likewise, feeling, discrimination, compositional factors, and consciousness are empty. Shariputra, this all phenomena are emptiness, having no characteristics. They are produced and do not cease. They have no defilement, no separation from defilement. They have no decrease and no increase. Therefore, Shariputra, in emptiness, there is no form, no feeling, no discrimination, compositional factors, and taste, don't touch object, no phenomenon. There is no I element, so forth, up to no mentality element, also to no element of mental consciousness. There is no ignorance and no exhaustion of ignorance, and so forth, up to no aging and death, and no exhaustion of aging and death. Likewise, there's no suffering, origin, cessation, or path, no exalted awareness, no attainment, also no non-attainment. Therefore, Shariputra, because there's no attainment, bodhisattvas rely on and abide in the perfection of wisdom. Their minds have no obstructions and no fear. Passing on beyond perversity, they attain the final nirvana. Also, all Buddhas reside perfectly in the three times, having relied upon the perfection of wisdom, became manifest, complete Buddhas in a state of unsurpassed, perfect and complete enlightenment. Therefore, the mantra of perfection of wisdom, the mantra of great knowledge, the unsurpassed mantra, the equal of the unequal mantra, the mantra that thoroughly pacifies all suffering, since it's not false, should be known as the truth. The mantra of perfection of wisdom is proclaimed, Tayata Om Gata Gata Paragata Parasangati Bodhisoha. Shariputra Bodhisattva, great being, should train the profound perfection of wisdom like this. Then the Blessed One arose from that concentration, said Spirit of Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva, the great being, that he'd spoken well. Good Guru-san religions like that, since it's like that, just as you've revealed, in that way the profound perfection of wisdom should be practiced, and the Tathagatas will also rejoice. When the Blessed One had said this, the Venerable Shariputra, the Spirit of Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva, the great being, and the entire circle of disciples, as well as worldly beings, gods, humans, demigods, and spirits, everyone delighted and highly praised what had been spoken by the Blessed One. Sing a few Gate mantras here. Om Gate Gate Paragate Parasamgate Bodhisoha. 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 Okay, so just take a moment to do our ninefold breathing here. So again, visualizing ourselves having a hollow body, sort of body made out of energy or pure light. So it's not a body of flesh and blood with organs and bones and so forth, just sort of empty space or like a sky inside of yourself. And again, 3 sets of 3 breaths. So we're doing our Yoga Mudra here, touching our thumbs to the base of our ring fingers here, closing them over Vajra fists, having them just on our hips here. Index finger here, starting with our right, closing our right nostril, inhaling through our left, closing our left nostril, exhaling through our right. We do this 3 times, getting rid of desirous attachment, sort of being hung up or stuck on things, that kind of attachment energy. It's all being flushed out in the form of smoke or black light, what have you. Turning around now, sort of closing, using our left index finger, closing our left nostril, inhaling through our right, then closing our right nostril, exhaling through our left, getting rid of anger, reactivity, frustration, that kind of negative energy. And then 3 deep breaths through both nostrils, just with our hands just on our hips here, slowly inhaling and exhaling. And on the final inhalation, just hold the breath at just below your belly button there, inside your body. Up in your breath, your prana, and your mind mixing all together, just all sort of the same focus point there, just below your belly button. So again, if you might have seen, yogis and yoginis, when they always the Tibetan sort of retreatants and so forth are doing this, they always have it's a little bit more exaggerated movement when you're doing ninefold breathing. So just make sure you have that straight back. I think one of the reasons they do that, have the arms up, is just to open up your chest, so you're not kind of like this. with your back straight and just like this, almost like you're picking your nose or something. It's just to sort of have more sort of an open body posture, just so that the prana can flow properly. So repeating the whole thing 2 more times. Okay. So let's just take a moment to set up our meditation today. Just feel again that we're in a wide open space here, with the ground being like lapis, blue and easy to easy to sense, easy to touch, easy to sit on, sort of soft and so forth. And that we are in sort of meditation posture here in the center, surrounded by all sentient beings. Okay, I'm just trying to find my prayers here. Okay, great. Okay. So beings surrounded by all sentient beings, this wide open space. Again, just feel that all beings of the 6 realms of cyclic existence are here with us. So representing sort of the feminine side of our body on our left is our mother, representing the masculine side of our body, yin and yang energies. On our father's side is our father, on the right side here. People we love the most behind us as support. And people we like the least, have issues with in front of us as objects of our prayers, compassion, and healing. And of healing those people, healing those relationships, paying off those karmic debts, and so forth. And then moving out with sort of concentric circles as far as the eye can see, sort of in all directions, are all other sentient beings. So we can feel that all other human beings from this realm and others are just here from all different countries and cultures, here meditating with us. Countless beings from the animal realm, all the different ecosystems, insects, all the way to sort of birds and so forth, big mammals, fish, and everybody. Just like I say, animals in the sky, animals on the earth, and animals in the water. They're all here. celestial beings, gods and demigods from their different realms and places. Countless spirit beings from the spirit world, from the ethereal realms, astral realms, and so forth are here. And then a sort of large majority of the sentient beings are from lower states of existence, from the Preta realm and hell realms. And they're here and sort of positive, super happy to meditate with us and get the healing and dharma that they need. I mean, like I would say, like we said, a little drone up flying around and seeing, it would be just like countless sentient beings in all directions. And then we're sort of in the middle here, sort of leading the meditation or just meditating on their behalf with everybody. Now in the sky, it's above this, like if we got the ground above it, it's this beautiful sort of dome blue sky, sort of summer sky, no clouds in it. So it's easy to see anything in the sky. And what we'll visualize just sort of today, a little bit simpler today, just time-wise, and I'm extremely jet lagged, so pardon me if if I'm just not so clear at times or whatever. I've got sort of brain fog of being just a day ahead of myself here and being super overtired in Sydney. Let's visualize just sort of a simpler, rather usually doing the Lama Chopa refuge tree here with all the different beings. We're just going to focus on the main figure of Lama Chopa. So just imagine like a big sun in the sky, almost like this is sort of a beautiful summer afternoon and we have a gorgeous summer sky. We're visioning the sort of threefold stacked figure of Losang Tupe Dorje Chang, or sort of the threefold figure of Tsongkhapa, the great Tibetan saint from the 1400s, founder of our tradition. At his heart, Buddha Shakyamuni, the Buddha, founder of Buddhism, our teacher, and at Buddha's heart, the divine couple Vajradhara and Vajradhatu, which are his sort of higher angelic, kind of psychic or magical form, I guess you could say, at his heart. So like I say, it's almost like those little Russian dolls. We open them up and they go bigger to smaller, but they're just all in the center of each other. And so the main figure that we have in the sky, like a big sun, is Tsongkhapa, and he's wearing the golden robes of a monk and a yellow pennant's hat in lotus position. And his left hand is holding a begging bowl at his lap with medicinal nectar, and his right hand is in the teaching mudra, so the index finger touches thumb, fingers up at his heart, holding the stem of a white lotus that blossoms around the ear. Now, in his heart is Buddha Shakyamuni, the Buddha, and again, just like we usually see in pictures and on the internet and so forth, or statues, he's in lotus position with a golden energy body, wearing the three robes of a monk. His left hand is in the mudra, sort of meditative equipoise mudra, holding a begging bowl with medicinal nectar. His right hand is in the Sadhuna mudra, touching the earth with an open palm, right hand. And as his heart, so even smaller, is again the divine couple Vajradhara and Vajradhatu, but its higher form. So Conqueror Vajradhara and his partner Vajradhatu, they both have beautiful blue sapphire, sort of blue sapphire color, energy bodies or bodies made out of pure light. And he's in lotus position, and she's straddling him in a sexual brace. So her legs are around his back and her arms are around his neck. And he's holding a bell in his left hand, Dorje in his right. She's holding a curved chopper knife with the right hand, and left hand holding a skull cup filled with medicinal nectar. And they're wearing crowns and beautiful jewelry and silks and so forth. And they're young and beautiful. We can also feel that between them at heart level is the Hum letter, H-U-M, or just a Tibetan letter, representing the Dharmakaya, enlightened mind of the Buddhas, made out of blue energy, and it's sort of emitting out soft rainbow light in all directions. So us and all sentient beings, we're all looking at the sky. It's kind of like we're just watching TV or something here. We're just, we're all sort of this devoted respect and devoted aspiration here, looking up in the sky, seeing all holy beings, all Buddhas being represented in this one figure of the threefold Buddhas here, Tsongkhapa, Buddha, and Vajradhara and Vajradhara. Okay, so let's just take a moment to take refuge here as all sentient beings. We're doing the prayer mudra at our heart. And we go, I and all sentient beings to achieve enlightenment, go for refuge to Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. I and all sentient beings to achieve enlightenment, go for refuge to Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. I and all sentient beings to achieve enlightenment, go for refuge to Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. Through the virtues we collect by giving other perfections, may we become a Buddha for the benefit of all. Virtues we collect by giving other perfections, may we become a Buddha for the benefit of all. Virtues we collect by giving other perfections, may we become a Buddha for the benefit of all. So generating refuge and bodhicitta there. That's our view and intention. Everything we do today is we're getting off to a good start here. It's for the enlightenment of all sentient beings. So we just feel that from the heart, the blue whom letter at the heart, sort of between Vajradhara and Vajradhara, wonderful, beautiful white lights and nectars and energy is coming down from the sky here and dissolving into us and all sentient beings. So it just feels almost like a, a beautiful sort of coned spotlight coming down of wonderful white energy, blessing all sentient beings. And for us in particular, it's almost like a waterfall. Energy and nectar is coming down into our bodies. And this is purifying all obscurations, obstructions, negativities, delusions, sufferings, and so forth, disease, illness. For us and all sentient beings around us, and flushing it all out of our bodies, like smoke and soot and ash and rancid oil, this and that, black smoke, so forth, all just sort of coming out of the lower parts of our body, all that negative energy being cleansed out. And people just set our mind and body and our soul body, everything's becoming crystal clear and pure and energized. Now the lights and nectars turn color to sort of a golden color here, sort of the empowerment cover. So color, so first of it's kind of like we're cleansing things out, purifying it. Now sort of we're adding the good energy in. And let's just feel all sort of the teachings of Sutra and Tantra, all different sort of virtuous mental states and so forth, energies, good habits, all wisdom learning, love energy, all this stuff is coming into our bodies. That's all sentient beings, into our minds. So we're all glowing. It's just like a beautiful summer sun coming out with sunlight. And we're just like completely glowing and happy. And all this kind of, we're downloading all this information. It's like going directly into us. Generating the four measurables: measurable love, compassion, joy, and equanimity. So just as this just feels as this golden light and energy is coming into us, it's coming from our heart and just like a big bubble in all directions and going out to all sentient beings around us, sending them healing energy again of love, which is wanting them to be happy, compassion, wanting them not to suffer, joy, wanting them the sort of bliss and joy of full enlightenment, particularly of nirvana. Like I always like to say, also just sort of a positive energy, a positive creative power and clarity, and then also equanimity, just beyond having a biased, judgmental, sort of bigoted, I guess you could say, really mind of judging others and so forth, ones that people that you like, or saying things that you like, ones that you don't like, wanting the ones you like to be happy, wanting the ones you don't like to suffer, to be punished, or whatever. Just sort of getting past those two sort of extremes and right to the middle, where we just have a caring and friendly and open attitude towards all beings. So sending all that energy out. Now, 7-limb practice, or the 7 limbs or foundations of our Buddhist practice, making it Buddhist. Just we're going to do prostration, offering, confession, rejoicing, requesting Buddhists to stay and to teach, and dedication. So again, for prostration, just feel just from our hearts, we're showing respect here. We can do prostrations, physical ones, so even just in our mind here, to the refuge tree, to refuge field here, to Tsongkhapa Buddha and Vajradhara Vajradhara. Praises are more the verbal form of prostration, showing respect, singing praises and mantras and dharanis. And most of all, mental prostration, just a deep, deep devotion, deep, deep respect for that which is sacred. Going into offerings now, just from our hearts, billions of flowers going out in all directions, certainly made out of lighter energy, just like a big plane of flowers that we can offer to all holy beings, symbolized and the central figure here in the sky. Just like if you're walking through a field of wildflowers or beautiful gardens, or from the West Coast, or like when I like being in Japan in the springtime, where you get all the cherry blossoms falling. You're walking among all the trees, and then the wind comes and all the petals are falling on you, flying around. It's super beautiful. And we can just have that in our minds as an offering. Confession, declaration, are basically owning your bad qualities, your character flaws, the failures you have as a human being that are all sort of uniquely ours in our own way. Just we know what they are, and the ones we don't know, we do want to know, so that we can sort of purify all this and let them go and grow. And most of our negative qualities, if they don't hurt ourselves, they hurt others, or hurt ourselves and others. And just so this is all behavior, viewpoints, bad habits, judgment, so forth, that we want to let go of and to heal and to grow out of. So just as offering this up to the Buddhas, just sort of as witnesses, just we're going to do better and do our very best. And then rejoicing even in us meditating here together today, rejoicing in all the good qualities of all holy beings and light beings, all the good acts and virtues and kindness and love and so forth of sentient beings around the world, being happy about that. Now asking Buddhas or gurus or teachers, all light beings and holy beings, to always stay with us and to always teach. So just in our hands, we can sort of send out a white lion throne made out of energy, sort of floats up, dissolves into Tsongkhapa, an 8-spoked golden Dharma chakra from our hearts we offer up as well, made out of energy. So always stay with us, always guide us, always help us, always support us, all holy beings on our path to enlightenment. And finally, dedication. Everything we do, let's dedicate it for the healing, for the enlightenment of all sentient beings without exception. Just sort of sharing all that positive energy, whatever we're doing, just putting it out there. May this be for the benefit of all. Whatever happens to us, may it be for the benefit of all. Good things, bad things, anything, just always dedicating that in our mind. And best thing is that all sentient beings reach full awakening. So whatever we do, whatever happens to us, may this be for the benefit of all. I always, our dear friend and teacher, Venerable Losang Seringer, David Gonzalez, famous sort of yogi monk and translator in Seattle, he passed away in 2014. He was sick with cancer for a number of years, and Christine and I would go visit him almost every month, and we were very, very close. He's just a big power and influence in our life, just an amazing teacher. And at the end of his life, I was always saying, why don't you do more longevity rituals to extend your life? Because you're doing so many amazing things. You're writing these books, you're teaching, you're doing this and that. And he's very, or just even just to live longer. I mean, it's just, you want a nice sort of happy Dharma life. Why don't you stay here longer? And it's very sweet. He said, you know, when I think that way, I always feel that I'm just being selfish on some kind of subtle level. There's a lot of self-cherishing there. Like, I'm important, I want this, you know, I'm scared of dying, all these kind of me attitudes kind of consciously or unconsciously circulate around that kind of thinking. And he said, all I do every day, I pray, is whatever happens to me, you know, dying of cancer here, whatever happens, may it benefit all beings. That's all. Every day, he says, he said, I just get up and just whatever happens to me, whatever I'm doing today, whatever has to be, what has to be, as I'm dying cancer, may it be for the benefit of all sentient beings. And he told me that. I was like, oh my God, that's so, that's so touching. That's so amazing. So let's always have that attitude, or try to as best we can when we're doing our practice here, just in our life. Now, holding the mantle, a beautiful purified universe in our hands here. A little more official with the mala. There we go. And just feel that we're offering up a purified universe, all enjoyments, all beautiful things to all the Buddhas. It's sort of our one last big offering to open our hearts and purify our minds to receive the blessings or positive energy from the Buddhas here. The ground sprinkled with perfume and spread with flowers, the great mountain, four lands, sun and moon, seen as a Buddha land and offered thus, may all beings enjoy such pure lands. Om Idam Guru Rana Madala Kamyotiyami. I send forth this precious mantle to you, precious Gurus and Buddhas. Okay, so one more time, golden energy like sunlight coming down. Just like when you see in your house, sunbeams coming through the window there on the carpet or the stairs. Same kind of thing, beautiful, warm, loving, sort of brilliant, sort of luminous energy, golden energy coming down from the heart of the divine couple, Vajradhara and Vajradhara at Buddha's heart, who's at Tsongkhapa's heart, in the sky like a sun, blessing us and all sentient beings. So opening our hearts, blessing means Jinlap, or just mind transformation, making it more powerful, more open, more loving, more sharing, more creative, all this sort of just going up an energy level, just like a beautiful flower sort of opening up in the sun. And just for the dissolution process here, I'm just going to recite the request verse that Zasep Rinpoche translated here for Lama Chopa here. So just a few of them. Okay, and just focus just in our mind, just here about all sentient beings, and focusing our devotion on Tsongkhapa and Buddha and Vajradhara here in the sky. We go. Namo Mahamudra, homage, Prajna Paramita, the great mother of all the Buddhas, glorious primordial Buddha, principal of all Buddha families, spontaneous, pervasive mansion of the three kayas. I pray to all pervasive Lord, great Vajradhara. May I be blessed to cut the mental continuum of my self-grasping, generate metta karuna, bodhicitta, and compassion, soon attain the highest state of Mahamudra, union of bliss and emptiness. Recite blessings of all the teachers coming down from Shakyamuni Buddha all the way to Zasep Rinpoche, our teacher, and into us for the final meditation here. You are the holy teacher of all the Buddhas of the three times, dwelling in the perfect pure lands of the Buddhas of the 10 directions. I pray to Manjushri, whose wisdom is supreme among all Aryas. Here in the northern land of snows, you're the second Buddha for the preservation of Dharma. I pray to the most holy Losang Tsongkhapa, the perfect teacher. You are the principal holder of the practice lineage of Lama Tsongkhapa, the true heart son of Manjushri. I pray to the great yogi, Togden Jepa. May I be blessed to cut the mental continuum of my self-grasping, to generate metta karuna, bodhicitta, and compassion, and soon attain the highest state of Mudra, the union of bliss and emptiness. After having perfected the 2 yogic stages of Vajrayana and attained the Vajra body beyond death, I pray to great Mahasiddha, Kuchen Chadorje. You abandoned completely the bondage of the 8 worldly dharma, spiritual materialism. You were the holder of the highest banner of the absolute dharma truth. I pray to Losen Dondrapa, Gewan Sapa. In the supreme joyful palace of the 3 Bodhikayas, you are the spiritual guide who dances with saffron robes. I pray to you, fully enlightened in all one lifetime, Sangye Yeshe. May I be blessed to cut the mental continuum of my self-grasping, to generate metta karuna, bodhicitta, compassion, and soon attain the highest state of Mudra, the union of bliss and emptiness. Knowing all phenomena, the holder of Lama Tsongkhapa's teachings, you are no different from the holy being, omniscient Losang Drampa. I pray to the most holy Losang Chokyi Gyaltsen, first Panchen Lama. With his entire teachings of sutras, chantras, and commentaries, you condense them beautifully, showing how to practice effectively. I pray to the great Mahasiddha Gendon Gyaltsen, extracting the heart essence nectar of Losang Gyaltsen Tsongkhapa's teachings. By great perseverance, you showed how to enjoy the practice. I pray to the great Master Gyaltsen Zingpa. May I be blessed to cut the mental continuum of my self-grasping, to generate metta karuna, bodhicitta, and compassion, and soon attain the highest state of Mudra, the union of bliss and emptiness. Profounding sense of Dharma essence you taught for fortunate ones, I pray to the Tantric abbot Koncho Gyaltsen. For the benefit of all beings and the preservation of Dharma, you reincarnated again graciously like Venerable Losang Chokyi Gyaltsen himself. I pray to the most holy Venerable Losang Yeshe, Panchen Losang Yeshe, second Panchen Lama. Blessed by true Buddha, you have achieved the profound path of oral transmission. I pray to the great Mahasiddha Losang Trinling, accomplished essence of J. Losang Gyaltsen's ear-whispered lineage. Practice in action, I pray to great Siddha Losang Amgyal. You taught Lama Tsongkhapa's ear-whispered lineage teachings perfectly without error. I pray to the great and kind master of Kanshin Yeshe Gyaltsen. May me blessed to cut the mental continuum of my self-grasping, to generate metta karuna, bodhicitta, and compassion, and soon attain the highest state of Mudra, the union of bliss and emptiness. You spread the essence of the complete perfect path of central distant lands. I pray to Venerable Nawang Jampa, glorious primordial Buddha wearing the saffron robes. You nurtured sentient beings of Tibet and China. I pray to Panchen Lama Palden Yeshe. You have achieved the realization of the sublime path of Sutra and Tantra by a single point of contemplation. I pray to the learned and great yogi, Nawang Dorje. You are highly skilled in the illuminating path of Dharma, like the second Buddha himself, especially in teaching composition. I pray to Venerable Nochu Dhamma Bandra. May we bless to cut the mental continuum of my self-grasping, to generate metta karuna, bodhicitta, and compassion, and soon attain the highest state of Mudra, the union of bliss and emptiness. Your compassionate eyes never close, and your profound immense wisdom is like Manjushri's. I pray to you, Yangshin Drupa Dorje. After bringing the yoga of bliss and voidness, you have reached the palace of Zhang Jug. I may caress the great learned one and Siddha at Tenzin Sundram. After perfecting realization of the profound Shunyata path, you upheld the banner of study and contemplation. I pray to Losang Sundram Gyaltsen. Holding a banner which represents the 3 levels of Buddhist teachings, you perfectly pure without any stains of immoral conduct. I pray to the most holy beings, Losang Don and Drupa. May I be blessed to cut the mental continuum of my self-grasping, to generate metta karuna, bodhicitta, and compassion, and soon attain the highest state of Mudra, the union of bliss and emptiness. You are like the second Buddha, Tsongkhapa, reincarnated again as the monk in saffron robes. I pray to the most kind and holy pure being, Gelugpa. In the immense and profound path, as a treasury of Dharma, you provide teachings and practice for the fortunate ones. I pray to the most kind Guru, Nawang Jampa. With stainless logic and debate which clarifies our minds, you reveal the sublime path beyond the 2 extremes. I pray to the skillful teacher, Jigme Wangpo. Your incomparable and equal master explains the lineage and practice of Lord Manjushri and Tsongkhapa. I pray to the holy Guntang Temi Dorme. May I be blessed to cut the mental continuum of my self-grasping, to generate metta karuna, bodhicitta, compassion, and soon attain the highest state of Mudra, the union of bliss and emptiness. By tasting Amrita of Ganden ear-whispered teaching of Jamgon Lama, the strength of realization Dharmakaya became even more powerful. I pray to the holy Koncho Gyaltsen. You have contemplated the sacred teaching of Ganden practice lineage, remain in pristine wellness for long periods of time. I pray to the great Mahasiddha Nongdrup Ramten. Accomplishing methods of awareness of abandonment and actualizing, you showered down abundant Dharma, rain of excellent explanation. I pray to the highest Dharma teacher, Gendon Gyaltsen. Your wisdom shines like the crown jewel among many masters, as your attainment of the 2 stages of Vajrayana is supreme. I pray to you, glorious Palden Tempe Nyingma. May I be blessed to cut the mental container, my self-grasping, to generate mental karuna, bodhicitta, and compassion, and soon attain the highest state of Mudra, union, bliss, and emptiness. Through the power of your loving kindness for all sentient beings, you upheld the banner of Lord Buddha's teachings, Sutra and Tantra. I pray to Japa Banka Deshinimo, this is Babanka Rinpoche, Jampa Tenzin Ajahn Gyatso, you property of the holy teacher of scripture, the method of gaining realizations and the way wished for by countless victorious Buddhas. I pray to the incomparable Yonsen Ling Rinpoche, Tubden Lontog Namage Turnling, the clear light of your holy body, treasure house of second Buddha, Loseng Drakpa himself, shines on fortunate disciples like myself. I pray to my most kind root guru, Kamche Trijang Dorjichang Loseng Yeshe. So again, praying to Jipa Monk Rinpoche's two heart students that were the tutors of the Dalai Lama, Solen's Ling Rinpoche, Solen's Trijang Rinpoche being Zasep Rinpoche's root teacher. May be blessed to cut the mental container, my self-grasping, to generate metta karuna, bodhicitta, and compassion, and soon attain the highest state of Mudra, the union, bliss, and emptiness. May you bless me to develop aversion towards samsara. May you bless me to take upon myself responsibility for liberating all sentient beings. May I soon achieve the unified path of common and uncommon attainments, particularly the great path of Mudra. May you bless me with the confidence to see my own body and the Guru's body as one. May you bless me with the confidence to see my speech and the Guru's speech as one. May you bless me with the confidence to see my mind and Guru's holy mind is inseparable here and now. So again, even making prayers to our root teachers as a Plukku Rinpoche, feeling that all these teachings, Mudra teachings of bliss and emptiness, come from the Buddha all through India and then into Nepal and Tibet, all through these great Gelugpa lamas, well, for Atisha first, in the old Kadampa tradition going into Tsongkhapa, new Kadampa tradition, or the Gelugpa tradition. They're all great Panchalamas and Dalai Lamas and so forth, gurus of present day to our root gurus as a Rinpoche, and then among us as his students in our Dharma community, helping each other out, teaching and learning from one another. So it's just like the beautiful rivers coming right down into our hearts now. So please grant us your blessings. And upon saying that, let's sort of dissolve the refuge field here. Just visualize first that all sort of the golden energy starts going inward, dissolving into Tsongkhapa, and he starts to melt into light, golden light, from his Panit's hat and his sort of legs and feet, sort of inward into his heart, dissolving into Buddha. Buddha Shakyamuni, again, from his head into his feet, sort of dissolving inwards into his heart, into the divine couple, Vajradhara and Vajradhatushvari. And now they're just in the sky. Beautiful sort of divine couple and sexual embrace there, the two Buddhas, and a beautiful sapphire blue energy. And they start to sort of get a little smaller, sort of melt into light, sort of shrinking down there a little bit, size of a sunflower seed or a little piece of corn, creating soft rainbow light, blue, green, yellow, red, and white. The 5 element colors there, and they come down to the crown of our head and very, very slowly descend in front of our spine and dissolve into our heart. At this point, they sort of melt and dissolve right into our root mind. So our mind and their mind are the same thing and become one. Think of all their wisdom, their compassion, power going directly into us. Okay, so meditate here for a moment. Meditating on just great sense of spaciousness and peace and deep, deep happiness. I would say joy and bliss. So bliss being a sense of totality or oneness, no sense of feeling any dissatisfaction or any sort of uncomfortableness or be feeling off or whatever, you just feeling one with the universe. Great, great sort of rest and peace and happiness. And then a joy being sort of that it's an active quality too. It's not just sort of a spaced out numb quality, but there's sort of a beautiful positive power of joy, this creative power coming out, expressing itself as love and compassion to all life. Just coming out of meditation here. So just wanting to give a few teachings here on bodhicitta. This is almost like an infinite topic. You can you never get to the end of it. And it's the most beautiful thing to meditate on. It's the heart of Buddhist teachings. And so my little measly attempt to give some teachings here, may it be for the benefit of all beings, but also may it motivate people just to constantly study bodhicitta, to come back and again, just as your motivation throughout the day, but also just as an object of study in your own life. And you can study emptiness and debate and science of logic in Buddhism and pramana, what's valid cognition. You can study all this kind of stuff till the cows come home, as they used to say. But in the end, not that that's bad or whatever, waste your time. I'm just saying that the main thing of studying in your life, if you really wanted to make it worthwhile, is just to come back to bodhicitta again and again and again. If you don't, as a Mahayana practitioner, especially if you're doing Tantra and Vajrayana and you don't really meditate on bodhicitta or don't really focus on it at all, you have to ask yourself, what kind of practice do you have? And is it just some kind of, like Rinpoche says, spiritual materialism, or your own kind of personal stuff that you're doing for yourself in a selfish way? So this is the greatest thing you can meditate on. So we'll have a little bit of a stab at it right now and just see what we can do here. So we started the last few classes talking about the first of three principal paths. If you want to organize Buddhist teachings all around three main values, I guess you could say, there are three main topics. It is renunciation, bodhicitta, the awakening mind, and wisdom realizing emptiness. So we're going to talk about bodhicitta today. In particular, when you want to practice Vajrayana or diamond vehicle or Tantric Buddhism, which is kind of the crown jewel of Mahayana or sort of bigger view, greater scope Buddhism, they always say to get enlightened, the ideal is to try and get enlightened in one lifetime, in particular using the methodology of highest yoga tantra, Anuttara yoga practice, Anuttara yoga meditation. So there's five conditions that you need to sort of bring together in your life as a practitioner, kind of pull this off to get enlightened in one lifetime. So the first three are the three principal paths. And then the other two are the generation and completion stage practices of the tantric meditation of highest yoga tantra, Anuttara yoga. But the take on the three principal paths is sort of a really kind of nice one, beautiful one. If you're sort of sorting or classifying in terms of these five conditions or five values or whatever you want to say, it's basically what they call tantric renunciation and tantric bodhicitta and wisdom realizing emptiness. And there's renunciation, bodhicitta, and wisdom realizing emptiness, but in particular, it's tantric renunciation, which we've been talking about a little bit, and tantric bodhicitta, which we'll talk a little bit about now. When we talk about emptiness, what we want, there's many different ways of approaching emptiness and different schools on what it is and what it means, kind of as an object of meditation. But for the tantric path, the only sort of school or viewpoint that's works best, or sort of works at all for the most part, you could say, is what they call the Madhyamika Prasangika, or the middle way consequentialist school, which we'll be talking about in future classes. So that's when we talk about in terms of what's kind of like the tantric form of wisdom, realizing emptiness. It's the Prasangika, or middle way consequential school. That particular way of understanding emptiness is what we need to understand and to cultivate in our lives. Backing it up a little bit. So again, just a quick review. What is tantric renunciation? What we were going over is, again, what am I renouncing? Well, in a tantric way, what I'm ultimately renouncing is the idea of having an organic body, a body of flesh and blood. Not that this is bad, not that this is something to, your body is your temple of your soul or this or that, but in the sense that you're, I guess you could say, sort of reorientating or refocusing yourself in a different way on your body of flesh and blood, rather than trying to preserve it, enhance it, this and that, knowing that it's just basically going to sort of fall apart as it gets old, as it gets sick, and as it dies. We're basically sort of turning our attention a little bit to the parts of our organic body that while being parts of organic body, are separate from it or a little bit different from it, right? So the organic body itself is basically the iron prisoner, whatever you want to say, that the site or the space where true sufferings and happen. The true sufferings and true origins of the Buddhist teachings, suffering coming from karma and delusions, from our selfishness or self-cherishing mind and all the delusions and hang-ups we have, but how they're sort of end up happening to us, all the bad things in life that happened to us because we have a body of flesh and blood, or organic body of flesh and blood. So what we're doing is, rather than focusing on that, we're focusing on the aggregates in our body that are different than that. Yeah, I guess you could, I'm just trying to be clear here. So it's almost like in Gnosticism, where we talk about that you're sort of focusing on the inner side, not sort of the meat sack, but your true soul, which is beyond life and death, this and that. It's a similar thing here. What we start really seeing is our form of embodiment. Rather than embodiment of flesh and blood, meaning like this, it's actually at our heart chakra here, our sort of fundamental body of the chi, or most sort of subtle prana, and the mind, our most subtle mind, our very subtle mind, what mind they could call of clear light, or there's a bunch of different terms you can use it. So if we have in Buddhism talk about the 5 aggregates of form, you're discriminating mental factors, basically be able to sort of picking out sort of a figure ground ideas, or basically something that's important against a backdrop of things that aren't important, just to isolate as an object. Compositional factors, which is all the other mental factors that can come in to sort of qualify what an object is in your experience. And then feeling, just at your navel chakra, feeling being that you have certain affective or mood content, I guess you could say, on your experience or an object. Do you like it? Do you not like it? Or do you not care? You're indifferent towards it. But the other aggregate, of course, is your consciousness aggregate, sort of at your heart chakra here. So that, of course, mind is defined as being clear and cognizing, sort of immaterial, has no quality whatsoever. And it knows things, it allows things to, it perceives things, things show themselves as they are to the mind. So what we were talking about before, we were talking about Tantric renunciation, is that part, that one aggregate, is the same for us in our sort of suffering meat sacks of flesh and blood, and the same for a Buddha. A Buddha's Dharmakaya mind is clear and cognizing, is the same way. So what's interesting when we're talking about Tantric renunciation, we're kind of forgetting all this and then focusing right here on our mind. That's what's most important. And again, that's, you could kind of say, is kind of like basically like a form of immortality. This mind, clear like this most subtle mind, because it has no quality, it's not subject to the sort of samsaric world that we live in. So that's the continuity. When we talk about Tantra being, meaning continuity or thread, that's the thread that takes us, sort of connects us as a sort of suffering, organic, sentient being, kind of deluded and stupid, this, that, suffering all the time, with this pure angelic light being an enlightened being, or a Buddha. What allows us to transform one into the other, transforming lead into gold, transforming crap into something beautiful, transforming something that suffers and is mortal, going through all sort of the karmic wheel of old age, sickness, death, and then into rebirth, and then going through over and over and over again. What allows us to connect that with this, which is sort of an angelic, beautiful being, like made out of pure diamond or pure light, that's nothing but an expression of love and compassion and wisdom for all beings, is that the foundation for both of them is the mind. And the consciousness aggregate is the same. So that's the journey that we're making, our little Jungian alchemical journey from being a sentient being, sort of going along this continuity line, this selfless mind with no self or quality to it. So it can be anything, it's completely free. That's what we can sort of bring it. Basically, we're replacing this organic body, mind, with a perfect, purified, sort of diamond-like body of a Buddha. And the foundation for that is the mind, which is a sheer openness. It's complete sheer awareness. It can be anything. So that transformation is possible. That alchemical transformation is possible. So again, renunciation is we're letting go of one thing and we're cultivating another. Okay. We've talked about this before. So it's kind of like a Jungian journey, the mandala. We've got our sort of diluted suffering mandala right here of samsara, and replacing it with a purified, blissful, joyful, compassionate, loving mandala of a Buddha here. Again, when we go into talk about emptiness, we talk a little bit more, but when you see the picture of the wheel of life, where Yama's holding the big mirror and you have samsara represented, you also have at the top Buddha Shakyamuni pointing to the moon. So Buddha's on one side, he's pointing, and then the moon's over here. And then at the bottom, it always has the little saying there from Buddha where it says, I hope I can remember. I'm so jet lagged. Let me see. Enter the path of the Buddha Dharma, make an effort to destroy it, destroy the Lord of Death as an elephant destroys a grass hut. So enter into the Buddha Dharma, start your training of this process, make an effort to destroy it, samsara, ultimately the whole reality of projected from our organics or in a meat sack, so to speak, and then destroy the Lord of Death, death itself, suffering, all these true sufferings, like an elephant destroys a grass hut, kind of like a bulldozer knocking over a little shack or something like that. So Buddha is telling you that, and he's at the top pointing to the moon. Now it's this beautiful full moon representing the emptiness of the mind, but also just the clarity of the mind as well, the sheer openness of the mind. That's what makes this possible in the first place. That's how we can do that. Now then, so it is possible. So what's interesting is now when we go into the Bodhicitta teachings, Bodhicitta, LamRim has just an amazing amount of teachings on LamRim, on Bodhicitta, the awakening mind. So we start with meditating on equalizing, I should say with equanimity, which is the sort of foundation or base for Bodhicitta. And we go through, there's a sort of choice here with two different strains of, teachings or traditions of Bodhicitta, one being coming from a Sangha and Buddha of love, Maitreya, being the sevenfold cause and effect. And that's sort of the vast path, what they call Buddhist teachings on compassion, and the more what they call profound path or stylized form of teachings of Buddhism around wisdom, is from Shantideva, a great sort of Buddhist Saint Shantideva taught what they call equalizing, exchanging self with others. Both of these produce the mind of bodhicitta. Bodhicitta is the fuel or the gas that gets you to full awakening as a Buddha. So if renunciation is getting our intention and sort of plan of what we want to do, the alchemical plan, the actual fire to melt the lead, transform the gold, the whole sort of setup that allows you to do that, I guess you could say the fuel for it is bodhicitta, or the great sort of compassionate mind. Just briefly here, because of course this is just endless, it's so profound, but I sort of like the teachings you get from equalizing, exchanging sufferers from Shantideva. Like one thing he says for equanimity is, he said, we're all, and you get this in the Lama Chopa sense, very beautiful quote from First Panchen Lama, but Shantideva in his famous poetic verse, Guided Bodhisattva's Way of Life, says that we're all equal as sentient beings. How do we know we're all equal? Because we all want to be happy, and none of us want to suffer. And he makes a funny joke that, and all of us are unhappy with what we have, so we're all dissatisfied too. So that's the one thing we have with everything, with spirits, with animals, with gods, with demons, anything else. We all want to be happy and we don't want to suffer. And we're all in a state of unhappiness. We're all dissatisfied and confused and lost and all messed up emotionally and this and that. We're all kind of like that. So that's sort of the not the human condition, but the sentient being condition. That's sort of the basis for our equanimity, on sort of showing this sort of bond that we have, this fundamental quality that we all have. So Shantideva says that with this, that we're all equal in this level, that there's a need to exchange ourselves for others. And so we do this all the time. We're always exchanging ourselves for others on a diluted day-to-day basis. Like, if I see someone getting in line before me, I picture myself as being that other person. I know what it's like to sort of get, but also that I would want to be that person, let's say, getting ahead of me in line at Starbucks or this or that, or someone might have something that I like, someone else as well. It looks like an amazing, whatever, restaurant food that I don't have that looks even better than what I'm eating right now. And I'm exchanging myself with others. I can exchange with myself with others, even a positive where I have sympathy for them, or feel bad that something happened and this and that. But a lot of times I'm even just being selfish or being nasty to other people. I'm exchanging myself with that person. They have what I want, or they're doing something to me that I do to others, and I know that that's not fair, blah, 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 this and that. So Shanti Davis says that we exchange ourselves with others all the time. It is possible. There's not this sort of rigid thing where I can't take another person's perspective, because I can take it on a day-to-day basis, even when I'm being selfish and being not a nice person. So in our worldly involvements, we can exchange ourselves for other people. So then he says, now what's the thing is, to generate bodhicitta, we have to say that not only can we exchange ourselves for others, but we should exchange ourselves for others. We can equalize. We're all equal. We want to be happy. We don't want to suffer. And we can exchange for ourselves, because he has a great quote where he says, all the happiness in the world comes from a mind cherishing others. All the suffering in the world comes from mind cherishing as itself. So almost on anecdotal evidence, you can see that the more you cherish other people, the more everybody's happy. The more you cherish yourself at the expense of others, the more everyone's miserable, including yourself. So that's the moral imperative here is we're all equal, and I can exchange myself for others. I should exchange myself for others, but with the right kind of intention, not with a worldly intention of self-cherishing, but an intention of cherishing other people or cherishing sentient beings instead. Because we all want to be happy. So then if we all want to be happy and we don't want to suffer, then how's the best way of being happy? Is cherishing others, exchanging myself with them, cherishing them, wanting them to be happy. And then you get how it goes, like basically almost like the sevenfold cause and effect that Sangha Maitreya talk about, where we talk about on equanimity, you're able to base love. So we've got, first of all, that we love all beings. They've all been our mothers. They've all taken care of us. They've all been kind to us. We want to repay their kindness, just like we would want to pay the kindness of our own mother and our own family, people that love us. This sort of produces a feeling of what they call affectionate love, that I actually care and love people. I can develop this into cherishing love, where I actually see them as family or see them almost like my children. And this is the case if I see all beings as being like my children, it's wishing love. I want them to be happy. So love on the most fundamental level is wanting someone else to be happy. Now, if I want them to be happy, I look at their life, I see that they're not happy. Again, they want to be happy and they don't want to suffer, but they are in a state of suffering, being in samsara. So this is where wishing love ends up producing compassion, which is the wanting sentient beings not to suffer, wanting another being not to suffer, wanting to remove that suffering from them. So love going right into compassion. So it's the same thing with equalizing and exchanging self with others is, again, we're all equal, we want to be happy. We don't want to suffer. We want, we can exchange ourselves with others. We do it anyway. And we see that the best way to give happiness is to exchange ourselves with someone else and to care for them. Just, like cherishing love, wanting and wishing love, wanting them to be happy, which means wanting to remove their suffering. We have to remove their suffering first and help them with all their problems, remove all that before we can give them the happiness that we would want them to have, that we want ourselves, and makes the world a better place. So you can see how these two sort of lineages actually go together. And Tsongkhapa is a meditation with the 11 steps of Bodhicitta, where he merges both of these two, equalizing, exchanging self with others, with the sevenfold cause and effect, the end result being Bodhicitta. Because in both ways, what ends up happening is that the final sevenfold cause, the seventh cause in Sangha and Maitreya system, is that based on this great compassion of wanting others to suffer, someone has to help. Someone has to do something. Who's going to take away others' suffering? Great compassion. I want all beings not to suffer. I want all beings to be happy. Who's going to do it? Well, I'm sort of the moral sort of space in my other people to do this. And so I have to do it. Who else is going to take other people's suffering away except for me? I sort of make this vow, this bodhisattva vow, to work sort of my spiritual, like my day-to-day life being spiritual. I make this vow for all sentient beings, to relieve all sentient beings of suffering. How can I do this? I do it by, again, wishing to gain enlightenment, wishing to be a being that can love and care for people 24/7, like an angel, being a Buddha. That's what a Buddhist do, that's what the Buddha's task is. Hence bodhicitta. And it's the same thing with equalizing, exchanging himself with others, is I end up in Shantideva's system. I can exchange myself with others. I should exchange myself with others. I'm going to exchange myself with others. How do I do this? By generating, taking the bodhisattva vow, generating bodhicitta, having the motivation to get enlightened for all sentient beings. Anyway, I'm running out of time. I don't want this to go. It's already gone over a little bit here. So what I wanted to talk about, maybe another time I can talk about that. Maybe next week I will. I wanted to show a little bit, not that we're too much interested in getting into some Western philosophy, but I wanted to sort of introduce, when they got a master's in Western philosophy 2 million years ago. Something's famous, great philosopher Hegel talked about recognizing self as other. And there's a really kind of an interesting thing that I've always seen in that idea of what he calls sort of fulfilling Kant's categorical imperative on an ethical level, treating beings as ends, not means, as a form of understanding bodhicitta. I'll try and talk about that maybe next week for a little bit, just a shorter one. But I just wanted to say, when you get in with, maybe for a final thing, is, just with the sevenfold cause and effect, Shantideva gives as an example, how can I best, once I've made this, the bodhisattva vow, what do I do as a practice? What do I do as sort of an intention, almost kind of like a practice for myself to put that bodhicitta into practice of day-to-day life? That is the practice of Tonglen, which is taking and giving, taking in the sufferings of all beings, transforming them through the power of your bodhicitta into an offering, into kindness, into love and compassion. And that ends up being the sort of practice, I guess you could say, what a Buddha does. A Buddha, basically, their whole life is Tonglen, is taking, giving, this whole act of reciprocity of everything being love, being almost like sunshine coming out of you, everything being an offering, and everything being love and caring. So with all the tantric visualizations you always do, where all sort of lights coming, you're this beautiful angelic being, a light being, all this energy coming out of you, which is making offerings to the whole world, to all holy beings, at the same time transforming and purifying the world, making everything holy, everything beautiful, releasing all sentient beings from their suffering, making them all Buddhas just like you are. We do that already when we're trying to generate bodhicitta through this, the equalizing self with others. Once we have that intention, we start doing the practice of Tonglen, taking and giving, meditating and praying, where we're taking on the suffering of the world, transforming it into love, beautiful bliss, happiness, love and compassion, and sending all of that, transforming the world into a purified place. And so bodhicitta itself, you see that you were on a tantric way already bringing the end result into the path. We're purifying our heart, purifying our vision just through this act. And then this allows us to have more and more bodhicitta. It's almost like a circle that we get going here, almost like nuclear fusion. Or a perpetual motion machine, so to speak. We're generating more and more compassion, more and more love, more and more bodhicitta. So that's the way of, you could understand tantric bodhicitta, is when basically I end up saying why I'm doing this. I'm quickly trying to get enlightened. I'm quickly doing all this for the enlightenment of all sentient beings, and no other reason. So all my life, everything that I do is this sort of, with tantric motivation, trying to get enlightened in this lifetime as quick as possible. How to do it? By practicing nonstop love and compassion for all sentient beings around me at every moment of the day. And that's the field. This is what will allow you in this life to do all the pujas, all the retreats, and reorientate your whole life. So enlightenment isn't something you're going to get thousands of years from now, some other reincarnated version of yourself doing the work. You in this life are going to create that mandala, that alchemical process right here, right now, starting today. And throughout your day, going about just doing nonstop love and compassion, everything being dedicated for the enlightenment of all beings. Anyway, again, you can see this is just the little tip of the iceberg about Bodhicitta. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about that. So thank you. Sorry for going over. I know I've gone a little bit longer and stuff. Let's just take a moment again to dedicate. Again, we're dedicating, starting with Bodhicitta, ending with Bodhicitta. May everything we've done today together be for the enlightenment of all sentient beings. Blessings of all holy beings, the truth of karma, the power of our Bodhicitta motivation. May all sentient beings be released from suffering and reach full awakening. And most of all, may our practice of Bodhicitta increase and increase. Okay, thanks everybody. See you next time. Lots of love.